Will the Taliban this time around be effectively the same Taliban that ruled in the run up to the initial invasion 20 years ago? Well, Joe Biden was asked about that, and here's what he had to say.
What happens now in Afghanistan? Do you believe the Taliban have changed?
No, I think, let me put it this way. I think they're going through sort of an existential crisis about, do they want to be recognized by the international community as being a legitimate government? I'm not sure they do. But look, they
care about their beliefs more.
Well, they do. But they also care about whether they have food to eat, whether they have an income that can make any money and run an economy. They care about whether or not they can hold together the society that they in fact say they care so much about. I'm not counting on any of that. But that is part of what I think is going on right now in terms of, I'm not sure I would have predicted, George, nor would you or anyone else, that when we decided to leave, that they'd provide safe passage for Americans to get out.
Okay, so look, he went on in that answer. There was some nuance. A lot of that nuance has been lost in the online conversation around this, Michael. I don't know if you've seen this, but I cannot believe that this is ABC News. I'm used to these sorts of tweets from like The Hill or whatever. But ABC News tweeted out that video saying, exclusive, George Stephanopoulos, do you believe the Taliban has changed? President Biden, quote, I think they're going through sort of an existential crisis about blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's true, but his first word was no. Like they cut out the no. I'm not gonna count the characters in that tweet, but I feel like they probably could have fit it.
Yeah, they doubled those characters a long time ago.
They did. So that seems like a weird choice that has led to a ton of right-wing attacks of people who did not even watch the video clearly.
Right. One thing I've learned over the last, I guess, 9 months of not being with the Turks or with another network that was reliant upon a lot of social media is that there's a whole world of people that pay no attention to what's going on Twitter, even though I pay a lot of attention to it. And it's refreshing in a sense to know that. But I do think it's unfortunate that you have whoever is in charge of social at ABC taking the president without putting the no in there, because that was the answer to the question. Again, I don't think it was a bunch of people sitting around a table saying, let's cut out the no. I don't think that's how newsrooms work. It's somebody in social who released that and let's get this clip out there, and they put it in. But here's, going back to what the president's answer was, is it's interesting because you're talking about the Taliban, but the last time we talked about them in the way that we talked about them it was 20 years ago. It was after 9/11. It's when the Congress voted in overwhelming numbers, and the neocons within the Bush administration at that time, the second Bush administration, said, let's go in there. It was in reaction to what had happened and on 9/11 being enabled by the Taliban to a great degree. They had to have changed. Everybody's changed. The Republicans have changed in 20 years. The Democrats have changed in 20 years. So there's been change that you have people who weren't even alive or who were 5 or 6 years old when the Taliban was last at its most powerful. You'd assume there's change. It doesn't mean it's all for the better either. It could be even worse, but there has to have been change. So I think that the president in saying that shouldn't cast aspersions on these people. He needs people to get out safely, and he doesn't want to start anything. That answer, I think, was telling.
Yeah, I'm glad that you added that nuance to the end, because I wasn't doing this job back in 2001. I was sort of barely aware of what was going on politically, but it feels like the Republicans have gotten worse in the last 2 decades. I could be wrong.
No, but that's, of course, because Trump happened to them, right? I mean, we didn't think that there was anything worse than the neocons at the beginning of this century. And then Trump happened, and then the Republican Party, was empowered by somebody who should not have been president. And so anybody can do it, but again, doesn't always mean it's for the better, but it's always nice to think that it could be from the better. And every indication we've seen right now, 20 years ago, they would not have escorted Americans out of Afghanistan, that's for sure.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.